Stranger Things Season 4. A show that I really, really loved is now a show that I really, really dislike. I don't even know what went wrong, really, so I'm just gonna try to give as spoiler-free of of this review as I can. I'll have a script written out for this one. I'm working on a script covering the entire season, which will feature a lot of spoilers. So I'm just kind of gonna ad-lib this video right now. I want to start by saying that I loved Stranger Things. I loved the first season. I thought the second season, while flawed, was pretty fun. And while I didn't really like season 3, I again also thought it was a lot of fun. It's not my go-to, but I can watch season 3 and have fun with it. Season 4, I hated. I hated every minute of it. It was not fun. It was bloated. It was contrived. And it just broke the continuity of the entire show with just a couple of scenes. And that honestly really upsets me. I'm an inspiring writer myself, so I do take really good care in my work on making sure the continuity of something is kept intact, because that, in my opinion, is one of the most important parts about writing, is making sure that the continuity of your story is intact. And if you have to do retcons, there has to be a really, really good explanation as to how said retcon worked. But anyway, this season really just hammered it home that Stranger Things should have had one season and one season only, because it has been a slow decline since season 2, really. Season 2, while I did say I enjoyed, I really only enjoyed probably just because I got caught up in the hype with it. Season 3, maybe the same thing. I have some fond memories of Season 3, but I mean, at the very least, I guess Season 3 is just kind of fun. But with Season 4, I had no fun. I was scratching my head the whole time, and I found out that a lot of questions that I have don't get answered, and that really annoyed me. So I'm gonna talk a little bit about the show itself. So season 4 is, I don't know what they wanted to do with it, honestly. They wanted to try to go back to their roots with season 1 and make it scary again. But in the process of making it scary, they made it kind of goofy, and it really just didn't work. They decided to create a brand new monster, which I appreciate, and this might be a bit of a spoiler, but I think they showed it in the trailer. The monster in general does not work because they decided to try to make the monster relatable to us by giving it a human face, which to me really ruins the horror of the Upside Down, because that whole dimension was otherworldly monsters that couldn't really communicate with us, and if they could, it was by them controlling one of us. So creating a monster from that dimension with a human-like face really doesn't work, because now it's characterized in a relatable sort of way, and that really, in my opinion, took a lot of the horror out of the dimension in season 1, 2, and 3. The writing this time around is atrocious. It's awful. If you did not like season 3 because of how many characters there are, you're going to hate this season. There's basically double the amount of characters from season 3. And that leads to some hilariously stupid sequences where characters will just stand around doing nothing because there's too many characters. Some of them can't do anything. And it was bad enough in season 3 with all the characters they had already. This time around, they introduce a bunch of new characters that are basically primary characters for this season, which was a terrible idea because you already have a massive cast of characters already. We don't need more characters on top of that. in addition, most of these characters just don't even feel like the same character anymore. And by that, I don't mean like the character grew so it's changed the character themselves. I mean the character in general is just so different that it's not even the same person anymore. It's just an actor with the same... It's just an actor playing someone with the same name, but has none of the personality of that original character. A lot of characters have also been reduced to just a singular trope, such as loud funny man, or concerned quiet kid, or I don't know, clingy girlfriend kind of thing. It didn't work. They just made everyone one-dimensional this time around, which was probably the stupidest thing ever, because say what you want about season 3, but at least the characters still felt like the characters from season 2 and 1. This time around, they just feel like caricatures of that character. This was also something that I didn't really want to talk about, but the special effects this time around are absolute shit. And I don't usually comment on stuff like CGI and stuff like that, because generally I don't really care. I've seen some of my favorite shows have really bad CGI, and some of my favorite movies have really bad CGI as well. So CGI isn't something that I normally care about nor notice, but I had to make an exception in this case because it looked absolutely terrible. I don't know where all the money that they've been getting is going, because it's definitely not going to the CGI, because it looks worse than season 1 CG. It looks worse than season 3 CG, and that already looked terrible. Let's see if season 3 was an Xbox 360 PS3 cutscene, this is a PS1 cutscene. It looks genuinely awful. This one's also going to be a bit of a spoiler, but I am just going to say this. If you are worried about any of the main characters, don't. There's nothing to worry about. They're too scared to take a risk with those characters. The story itself is just bloated, contrived, and unnecessary. It's them fighting the Upside Down for the 4th time now. And not only is that just not exciting anymore, it's also just kind of ridiculous at this point. This alternate dimension of untold monsters and whatnot is able to be beaten back by our scruffy band of heroes again. I mean, at least... See, I said this earlier, but I really do think that Stranger Things worked best in one season. And if they wanted to make a second season, it should have been about different characters with a different monster. Because you run into the same issues this time with, oh, well, it's the same thing this time, but it's a different monster. Like, I don't know. It just doesn't work a 4th time. There's a reason why most ideas, I guess, of this usually have 3 stories to pull this off. There's the beginning story, which establishes the monster and everything. There's the middle story where things are heating up, and then there's the 3rd story where the climax happens and the ultimate threat is beaten. That's kind of how I think stories should work if they have to have sequels, is it should be at most 3. And if there's going to be a 4th, it should be different in some way. And not just different by a different monster. I mean, the threat itself should be 100% different. But this time around, it's just same old, except monster has slightly different this time. But setting aside that, they also decided to introduce a bunch of, I guess, human antagonists because we needed more characters, I guess. So we have, in addition to the extraterrestrial, or I guess not extraterrestrial, but the alien monsters from the Upside Down, we also have like 2 or 3 different human antagonists that are present to be just a slight inconvenience for our main characters, which is just annoying and it isn't fun. The adult characters in general are just kind of shoehorned in. They don't really do much, and when they do stuff, it really does kind of come across as these are fans of season 1, 2, and 3 coming to season 4 to help these kids in like some weird kind of Truman Show kind of thing where like the kids don't know they're in a TV show, but the fans of the show are coming to help them, that kind of thing. Because that's just how the adult characters feel. They don't feel like adult characters in this terrible situation. They just feel like a joke. And like I said earlier, the kid characters really aren't that much better. They just have moments where they don't get to do anything because there's just so many of them. And I honestly feel bad for the actors because when they get to do something, the actors are giving it their all, but those moments are typically really, really rare. And it honestly would feel like a slap in the face to me if I were one of these actors and I didn't get to really do anything in this show because I have to have some other character do something because there's just so many of them now. That is the thing that kills the show. It are the characters. There's too goddamn many of them. Also, there are moments within the script where it really feels like they left placeholders for like names or things. They just leave like this weird kind of placeholder name and just kind of went with it. And I'm not going to spoil anything, but you'll notice it when you hear it. It sounds so dumb. I'm also just going to briefly talk about how they decided to split the season into 2 different parts and how the episodes are very different from earlier on. Episodes are longer this time around, with the last episode being like 2 hours long, because I guess they just didn't want to split it up into multiple episodes. But so if you didn't know, for whatever reason, season 4 was split into 2 parts, which was probably the dumbest thing ever. I've never seen a TV show do that before. I could be wrong, but I just don't ever remember a TV show doing that before. And it just came off as kind of cheap, I guess. In general, the first part doesn't really end in a way that makes you, or it didn't end in a way that made me personally want to see what happened next, because it just ends in a really cheap way, very obviously, because they for whatever reason split it up into 2 parts, which I guess to keep the hype train going or something. I don't know. It's just a terrible idea. But also the episodes are just really, really long this time because they have so much shit that they just got to cram into these episodes. Shit that just shouldn't have happened. Like, you remember the Russian subplot from season 3? Well, that's basically half the show this time around. The flashbacks from season 1 are also kind of a thing now. They're half the show in season 4 as well. So you have half. Yeah, so some episodes have like a quarter of it are about our main group of characters. The rest of it is about the Russian stuff from season 3. And the other rest of the episode is just the flashback sequences we had from season 1. It's not fun to watch. It's pretty boring because both the flashback sequences and the Russians are the worst parts of this whole show. It worked in season 1 because we were learning about Eleven's character. It doesn't work in season 4 because we already know her character. Now, like I said, I'm working on a longer review that is written down and is more cohesive than my incessant rambling like right now. It's going to be a pretty long review. I'm going to go into depth on each and every episode. So if you're interested, stay tuned for that whenever I get that done. I hope you enjoyed this one. I really do want to hear why you, if you did like season 4, why you liked season 4, because the few people that I know really, really enjoyed it really aren't either big show watchers in general who care about stuff like writing, or they are just excited to see the characters back again. Both are fine, but I don't understand where all this praise and love for the season is coming from. My guess is just because it was delayed, so they're just excited to see more Stranger Things. I honestly don't know. I haven't really heard any argument saying this is why season 4 is really good. I've just heard people say, "Oh, I liked this. I liked seeing these characters again," or "I don't really care. I don't really watch a lot of TV, but this is a show that I do enjoy." So I want to hear your thoughts on why you might have liked season 4 if you did, and I want to hear why you might not have liked it. That's all for now. I'll talk to you later. Peace.